Hello everyone. Chapter 4. The Gathering. Morning at Epsilon Facility. A woman strides up to the facility's main entrance and presents herself to a biometric scanner. Watching her via the security feeds, Ian Graves cranes in to regard the woman's silhouette, doesn't recognize it, and so watches for a log to come in from the scanner. The machine has recognized her as Director Clementine and then obligingly opened the door for her. Ian sees her enter the security corridor. The door closes behind. Muses Ian. So that's her. He watches Clementine stride along an innocent-looking corridor, actually laced with deadly traps, presenting herself to a second biometric scanner at the end. Once again, the door opens obligingly and the woman enters the facility proper, and Ian can now see her in the flesh. A serious-looking blonde executive, tall, well-dressed, acing her middle years. Her suit alone could be worth a year of Ian's salary. Laura Clementine is a rare visitor to Epsilon Facility, so much so that the guard on duty appears startled to see the research director at all. Laura smiles thinly at him, as a shark would. Of course he knows exactly who she is. Mom? Special occasion? Morning, Ian. I take it Dr. Redfield has arrived. Both of them, actually, Mum. Jane Redfield came through smiling at me earlier, and James was already here by then, of course. He's always early. Quite a busy morning. Perfect. Good day to you. Mum. Ian Graves watched her striding away to James's laboratory, wondering what the day had in store for him. James, that is. Perhaps he'd hear all about it over a coffee. James's lab, Epsilon Facility. Rachael sat on the edge of a body scanner, clad in her black sports underwear only. The rest of her clothes were in her pod room, a side room that she uses for mind-link memory transfers. She misses them, shivering a little from cold while watching the activities of James and his sister Jane, who sat nearby. The white and steel of the lab, the glare of computer monitors and the general low lighting that James preferred in here was curious, a strange kind of home. The twins were ignoring her, engrossed instead by Rachel's test results on their computer screens. While those two murmured to one another, Rachael found herself fantasizing about them living together. They shared James's place apparently. Not always, but sometimes. Rachael had an apartment too, although she thought something about it was odd. It was a company apartment, rather than one she had chosen herself after all, so she suspected it had special features to keep an eye on her. No, she didn't get to have an ordinary home. She wasn't ordinary people. Rachael wasn't Homo sapiens, nor was she the fabled Homo Deus of literature. Am I even human? Rachael wondered. I mean, I look like one, so... Rachael chuckled while watching the twins. Then suddenly she felt Jane being that family friend you only see now and again. The completely barking mad one, in the good way, and James as very, very special. They made her feel all warm and fuzzy, complete with head tingles. Where had those tingles come from all of a sudden? Wasn't that a bit odd? Such tingles in the brain was most curious. Must be a reflex. There's some kind of sorcery at work here, isn't there? Irk. Feels like a response to pheromones. Suppose so. And no matter how hard she tried, Rachael was unable to get annoyed by it. She stopped trying. Rachael realized once again that all of this stemmed from her genes. They were bespoke, having been compiled from a code base at Ouroboros. Her body had been created, her feelings were manipulated. The majority of her knowledge had been implanted. Jane, are you all right? Rachael said. Jane was looking right at her, and the two of them had lost themselves in each other's eyes. Jane was entranced. Neither knew how or why it had happened. I was just remembering what it was like to be on your body, said Jane, smiling weakly. She was apparently unwilling to snap out of her reverie and continued to speak dreamily. I used your mind link replays for my research sometimes. Some of them are, really quite wonderful. James turned to give his sister a raised eyebrow, then flicked his eyes back to the data on his monitor. She didn't notice, but her eyes cleared, and now Jane could speak more plainly to Rachael. Just now, my brother and I were checking the stability of your latest gene modifications. You'll be pleased to know that, for now, your body isn't regressing into a giant blob of cancer. That's a plus, Rachael shrugged. Jane nodded. I don't suppose you remember the failures? I do sometimes, said Rachael. What? Bugs in the mind link? Jane said aghast. What do you remember? It's all supposed to be properly scrubbed and sanitized. Your mind, that is. Every time you die... It's just nightmares, Rachael interrupted. I don't know what's real, but I dream of strange deaths sometimes. Okay, Jane mused. But still, MindLink is a difficult technology. Could my genetics cause issues? Rachael asked. Is my brain normal? Whatever it is, I'll try to figure out ways of doing better, said Jane. She smiled warmly at Rachael as if to seal that promise. Rachael felt it as a genuine gesture of affection. Oh, thanks. And by the way, Jane, are you controlling me with pheromones? Jane's eyes widened as the penny dropped. Yep. Huh. Thought as much. Now what started as Jane's guilt softened to a fat, mischievous grin. Perhaps one day you should come over to my lab and I'll show you the hedgehogs. Rachael smiled. Jane really was the best, wasn't she? And there was that nagging buzz in her head again. Don't resist or make her sad, for isn't everything so very fine and dandy? I would die for you, Rachael spluttered. She hadn't meant to say it, but oops, there it was, spilling out of her mouth like so much embarrassment. Jane looked pretty embarrassed. Sorry, said Rachael. What am I saying? Well, that was fun, said Jane, recovering herself, but flushing, and certainly spectacular. What does that? Asked Rachael. Quite simple, Jane replied. You are a tyrant-class agent, and nowadays I exude a control pheromone. My team is working on some new ideas. I see. Tyrants control lesser creatures, said Rachael, and they do it with a pheromone aura like I have. Mine lets me control the tyrants as well, Jane smirked. Think of it as an executive safety protocol to keep us safe from mishaps and betrayal. Well, it feels nice. Your aura feels nice for me too, Jane purred. Suddenly, James was distracted from his work. I didn't get that, did I? Don't worry, James, Jane assured him. I doubt Rachael has any sinister plans for you. Sinister plans, said Rachael, faux innocently. No, my plans for James are far more pleasant. Jane looked at her brother with some puzzlement, and he returned her look with some bemusement. Don't look at me, Jane, he said. Shortly, James had finished reviewing Rachael's test results. All right, I've seen enough for now, he said. I'll look over these again later. I've got something to think about. Everything still fine? Asked Jane. More or less, he said. I'm just killing time waiting for Laura to turn up at this point anyway. Oh, did I hear something about going to see hedgehogs? Well, it was just a joke, really, Jane began. But if you two fancy a field trip to my lab, you're more than welcome to pay us a visit. The door to the lab opened, and in came a woman Rachael immediately knew as her. Rachael, cried Laura. Look, it's complicated. Rachael didn't have a normal parent-child relationship with Laura. Instead, they started life as adult daughter and middle-aged parent. Childhood simply never happened. Hello, Laura, Rachael smiled. The lack of a childhood. No school, no friends, no dramas, no exams, no college, no careers advice, just literally bam adulthood, created no void in Rachael's life. She simply had no concept of what she lacked, and therefore didn't miss it. On her first day of life, Rachael awoke, fully educated, as an adult. And on that first day, there was Laura, smiling at Rachael's naked, wet form. Are you cold? Rachael realised she was still sat about in her underwear. Can I get dressed? She asked the twins. Yes, go ahead, said James. Jane smirked as Rachael darted off to her pod room to retrieve her clothes. So, said Laura, now that Rachel had vanished, are we ready? James nodded. Yes, Director. Meanwhile, Jane swiveled from side to side in her chair, still silently smirking. That meant yes too. Laura, said James, why don't we retire to the staff lounge? It's far more comfortable than standing around in the lab. And I have coffees and donuts. Yes, let's do that. Jane, you want donuts? James said to her. There's a bag in the kitchen. Great, Jane replied. Okay, look, I'll make the coffees and get the donuts. You guys wrap up here and head over. Jane vanished into the staff kitchen to get the group their refreshments, and Laura meandered over to the lounge with James. Shortly, Rachel returned, fully clothed. In the kitchen, Jane found the bag of donuts James had brought in from his favourite delicatessen. She fished one out of the bag. Cinnamon, she said, holding it to her nose. The donut was small and covered in cinnamon sugar, appearing to be a tasty morsel. The bag held more than a dozen. Jane took two and put the kettle on. A few minutes later, Jane brought a tray of coffees and snacks into the staff lounge where the others were waiting. She put the tray down on a coffee table and everyone took what they wanted. Shortly, Laura had settled back into a comfy leather armchair with a coffee in hand. Jane chose to sit on a desk with her legs crossed, munching one of her donuts, while her brother James sat with Rachel on a leather sofa. The two sofa dwellers exchanged a variety of looks as they settled down. Everyone was now waiting for Laura to begin her story.